Hey Katie's, it's Triple Feature Tuesday once again, and we are starting Tom's Friends Hate Him month with, of course, Kevin James and Adam Sandler Need to Stop. James and Sandler. Sandler and James. Actually, that kind of sounds like a really terrible wine cooler. Like it's like fruit-flavored Crisco oil or something like that. Anyway, Adam Sandler, I kind of like. I mean, it depends on the movie. He's had fun ones. I mean, everybody loves Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, but he's had some fun ones recently. I thought Don't Mess with the Zohan was surprisingly amusing. Kevin James, on the other hand, I just don't like at all. I have never found him remotely charming ever, but the cardinal sin is he's just not funny. He's not funny. He's never been funny in anything. And yet, TV shows, comedy specials, and movie after movie after movie. It just, I mean, you're going to hear this phrase a lot from me this month. I don't really hate any of these people. I don't begrudge them making a living. They've got to eat too, but I have to watch these now, and it's just terrible. I did this one straight up. I watched all 3 movies in a row. Usually I space them out a little bit, doing research, making notes and everything. But no, I straight up watched 3 Adam Sandler, Kevin James movies in one sitting. And it hurt. It just hurt after a while. I mean, just, do you see the low energy right now? This is what this month is going to do to me. So, hooray! Our menu is going to include I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, Grown Ups, and Pixels. The most surprising thing about I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry was not that I didn't laugh at all, because, but that it's not as offensive to gay people as you'd think it would be. The plot of this film, if you don't know, is Adam Sandler and Kevin James get fake gay married for insurance purposes, and as they get investigated for the obvious fraud that they are committing, they have to, pretend to be gay, and then hijinks ensue. And, I mean, a lot of these Adam Sandler movies feel dated, even though they're only like 5 or 8 years old. It's just, they're appealing to a humor that just doesn't seem in step with modern audiences anymore, and maybe that plays better like in different parts of the country, and I'd like to consider myself pretty sharp and pretty modern, and it just wasn't doing anything for me. There's so much that's ridiculous about this movie, not the least of which is, on what alternate reality different version of planet Earth are we that Kevin James is a fireman? This doesn't make any sense. Like, Adam Sandler got himself into pretty damn good shape for this movie, but Kevin James still just Kevin Jamesing it all over the place. And don't get me wrong, the Adam Sandler thing, him being in shape, not impossible, but also kind of pushed to a ridiculous extent in this one. He's Mr. February in a fireman catalog, and the running gag is that just all the ladies just need to be on Adam Sandler. And admittedly, he's not doing like a water boy character, but still, this really? My overall frustration with the movie is it plays a lot of bait and switch. It keeps switching the setups for things and the payoffs for things. Because, like, so throughout the movie, Kevin James and Adam Sandler are pretending to be gay because they got married. And I gotta tell you, they had like the flimsiest excuse for why they needed to get married, because it's like some goofy pension plan that Kevin James can't change the beneficiary on because he missed his deadline to do it, and now it would take time. They never explain how much time it would take. It's just you can do it instantly if you have a life-changing event like getting married. But why doesn't he just get married to a woman? Well, he can't trust a woman, but he can trust his best friend and fellow firefighter Adam Sandler. So that's enough of a reason to commit serious fraud, which they do throughout the whole movie. The switching things around thing, like the whole movie, they're being investigated for fraud, which they are committing the whole time. And so, of course, Steve Buscemi is portrayed as a bumbling doofus, and they try to make the whole climax of the movie about homophobia, which it isn't, because they're committing fraud. They're not investigating. Like, at no point Do you hear Steve Buscemi's character or any of the other investigatory characters say they question the marriage because they don't believe in gay marriage or they think homosexuality is a sin? But the end of the movie would have you think that it's some sort of witch hunt where they're going after Kevin James and Adam Sandler because they're gay. Which, again, they're not. They're committing fraud, and that's what they're being investigated for. But, you know, we have to have a happy ending somewhere. Not as many gay jokes as you'd think. There are enough, don't get me wrong, and it's all just the standard, ooh, gay, and, you know, I can't deal with that because it's gay, and so I have to pretend to be gay, so let's fruit it up. But then they don't even do that much. Like, it's weird, because, like, halfway through the movie, Kevin James' character sort of just fades into the background, and the movie's really about Adam Sandler pretending to be gay but being in love with Jessica Biel, who is their big-time attorney for their fraud case, which, you know, again, they're being investigated for fraud that they are actively committing. And there's like one scene outside of a gay club where they get where everybody's getting harassed by, you know, religious people, and so Adam Sandler has like a big speech about how being gay is okay, which, you know, he isn't, and he's exploiting. And then they become, because they're firemen and they're openly gay, which again they're not, they become LGBT community heroes, which doesn't. I mean, this movie doesn't track at all. It's sort of like they had an idea to make this really swishy gay stereotype movie, but then they realized they couldn't do that anymore because it was 2007, and then they were left with, you know, kind of cobbling together a movie on the fly, and it doesn't work at all because there's still a bunch of jokes. Like Ving Rhames' whole character is one big gay joke throughout the whole movie, as it turns out. But then the day is saved by, you know, Dan Aykroyd, who is, as usual, criminally underused, outs everybody in the middle of the big gay witch hunt trial, which, again, it's not a witch hunt trial. It's not a gay witch hunt trial. It's a, you know, investigation of fraud, which they're committing. And he wants everybody to be okay with who Kevin James and Adam Sandler are, which they're two straight men that are breaking the law. So, hooray! And in the middle of everything is Rob Schneider and Yellowface. And I'm talking like full-on Mickey Rooney, what in God's name were you thinking, Yellowface? Like, this stuff wouldn't even have been funny if they had an actual Asian man doing it. But not only is it not funny, it's hideously racist. So, yeah, great way to start this month off with this just goddamn mess. Jessica Biel in the cat suit was nice, though. Next up, we have Grown Ups, the Saturday Night Live reunion movie with Adam Sandler, Kevin James, Chris Rock, Rob Schneider, David Spade. Other alumni include Maya Rudolph, Norm Macdonald, Colin Quinn. I think that's all of them. And this movie is basically like The Big Chill or Peter's Friends if you took away all of the jokes and the poignancy and or insight into the human condition. I don't get what this movie was about. I don't think any of the people in the movie knew what it was about. It's basically just these five guys sitting around, not even talking about their lives, just talking about stuff, about how, you know, their kids these days, and the wives, and, you know, we're older now. I'm not kidding. I know how this is going to come across, but that is literally what the movie is like through the whole thing. There are no real jokes. There are a lot of breast milk jokes because Kevin James' wife, Maria Bello, is breastfeeding their 4-year-old son and just can't seem to let it go. So hooray for that. There's a lot of hippie jokes because the five main guys are essentially the same character. The only two that have any sort of differences are Rob Schneider is a balding hippie married to, I want to say, a septuagenarian. And David Spade is like the only non-married single guy who is just a complete substance abusing mess. So hooray! David Spade being a sleazeball. Again, all of this could be fixed with actual jokes or humorous situations, but it's really just these guys get together for their old middle school coach's funeral and then hang out for a weekend. They have fun. Like, there's a lot of the movie, I think, if they had a script, the script was just, and then we go over here and do something fun, except, it seems like it's fun for the people there, but not so much for, the audience. Maya Rudolph, really funny woman, nothing to do. Salma Hayek, also, when you give her the opportunity, she's hilarious. Nothing. Maria Bello, I mean, she's got a lot of business with the breast milk, but not much else. Colin Quinn and Steve Buscemi are part of the anti-Adam Sandler group, and so we have a big basketball rematch at the end, which has, growth as characters, I guess, and people are doing better with their kids, and their kids aren't that horrible because of the magic of the lake weekend, and nothing. Like, I swear to God, there is, other than body shape and skin color, there is no distinguishing Kevin James, Adam Sandler, and Chris Rock's characters in this movie. They are just completely the same. And one of the most frustrating things about this whole thing is every time you see a group shot of them, and it's these four guys and Kevin James, all you can think of is, I wish Chris Farley never died. Like, I wish Chris Farley never died in general, but man, this movie could have been just instantly funnier, because Chris Farley, that guy just made things funnier. For this movie is strange because all of the other four guys are hilarious. Rob Schneider, in the right movie, in the right role, is funny, and they gave him a lot of stuff to do in this movie, but it falls completely flat. David Spade, again, funny in other movies, but not here. Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, proven comedic talents. All of it was sucked dry. Mainly because they just had no script. I think they all just got together for a weekend and had a camera rolling, for the amount of story that's in this thing. Ugh. I mean, when your biggest jokes are a three-way tie between Maria Bello futzing with a breast milk pump, Rob Schneider getting an arrow through his foot, or all five of your male leads pissing in a baby pool, I don't know what we're doing here. Finally, we have Pixels, Christopher Columbus's big screen adaptation of the 2010 short film by Patrick Jean. This one was surprisingly watchable, and I will freely admit it may be because I watched I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry and Grown Ups right beforehand, but this one, it was kind of fun. I actually enjoyed it. I think the enjoyment might be more, the other two movies priming me for just nothing. But this movie is at least watchable. It's aliens have intercepted broadcast transmissions from Earth and taken video game transmissions as a declaration of war and have come to Earth to fight back. And they are using pixelated 80s video games to attack people. And the only ones that can stop it are Adam Sandler and his crew of arcaders. That's their word, not mine. The special effects, really good. This is Christopher Columbus, who is a pretty decent director. He wrote a whole bunch of movies back in the 80s, Goonies, Gremlins, and directed Adventures in Babysitting, Only the Lonely, the first two Harry Potter films. You instantly see a difference in directing. It just has a better look visually, even outside of the special effects, which is not necessarily a knock on Dennis Duggan. Dennis Duggan directs every other Adam Sandler movie, starting with Happy Gilmore, and there are as many good Dennis Duggan Adam Sandler movies as there are bad. I think those movies really just come down to the script. This one is a much more special effectsy movie in the vein of Ghostbusters or Gremlins, and I don't want you to misunderstand. I'm not comparing Pixels favorably to those two movies. If you have the choice, watch Gremlins or Ghostbusters. Just do that anyway. They're great. But there's a lot of good jokes and or special effects in there. The cast is much better. You get Michelle Monaghan, who just never works enough. Peter Dinklage comes in halfway through it, has a great send-up of video gamers in general, and Billy Mitchell of the King of Kong fame in specific. And then there's Josh Gad, who's part of the team, and this guy really does nothing worth watching throughout the whole movie, but luckily he's there a lot. And once again, I mean, the running gag of these three movies is that Kevin James is barely in them. I was really thought it was going to be like a Chris Farley, David Spade level combination throughout all these movies, but no, Kevin James is sort of playing like second or third fiddle in all of them, which is strange considering the marketing, but merciful considering my tastes. Less plausible than Kevin James the fireman is Kevin James the president. He's portrayed as a George W. Bush bumbling type, and it's just, ugh. But the action scenes, there are only like 3 main battles, and they come off really well. The fight with the centipedes was great. The Pac-Man sequence was really a lot of fun, with the way they made the mini cars, the ghosts, and they even have like the license plates with Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Clyde. And also like a really great appearance by Canadian character actor Dennis Akiyama. It's fun when like you see faces that you know and you have to look up who they are. And yeah, this guy, he was Shinji in Johnny Mnemonic. Remember Johnny Mnemonic? That cyberpunk movie that was almost the greatest thing ever? Well, Dennis Akiyama was Shinji, the guy with the thumb. That was just so badass. But I really just don't want to talk about these movies anymore, so I want to talk about Johnny Mnemonic. Anyway, but the Pac-Man sequence, really, really well done and exciting. That carries over. The ending is so very tacked on. Like, it's like we get 2/3 of the way through the movie, and then we're just, by the numbers, everybody loses faith in the arcaders, and then we have to, prove them wrong, which is weird because Kevin James is Adam Sandler's best friend, so why does he have to prove to his best friend, like the commander-in-chief, what they should do? Kind of an uninspired world coming to an end sequence with everybody running around and all like the games running wild. But the Donkey Kong sequence at the end is really wonderful. Like, imagine like all your greatest Nickelodeon game show dreams, but amped up to 11. Because you're fighting actual Donkey Kong, and I really, really would like to have done that. The only thing that made the sequence not work was, like, the music didn't work as well, which is strange, because it's Queen's We Will Rock You, and you'd think that would be the greatest thing ever, but it just doesn't sync up well to what they're doing. Hopefully this is the worst that it's going to get for the Tom's Friends Hate 'Em month. I've seen most of the movies for the next few, but then we're closing out the month with all these movies that I have to watch that I haven't seen, so that's probably going to be a nightmare again. But it can't be any worse because at least Kevin James is not going to be in them. So I'll see you guys next week, and I'll be so excited.